the knife on the side. But there was the Australian adventure, which was just wonderful. That was an Australian Discworld Con, half the size of an American one. But the Australians really throw everything into it. I even had my own concubine for it. Well, you know, not totally, as it were.
I made a note of my top 3 things of the year, and I'm going to ask you whether you would be in agreement. Okay, first one. Okay, in at number 3, visiting the set of The Hobbit. So we went to Hobbiton. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Can I tell you something about the Hobbits? They never took a crap. I looked inside, nothing. I was okay outhouse. How many of you have heard of Chick Sale? No? Nobody at all? Have you heard of a book called The Specialist?
Yeah.
That is written by Chick Sale. And that's one of the greatest... I still find it in second-hand bookshops in England, and I buy them up. I'm cornering the market on Chick Sale because it's all about the life and times of a privy builder, and it is hilariously funny. It is at the soul and centre of everything that is humour, and it's a very small book, and I think it must still be in print. Who was the lady that said she had heard about him? Over there somewhere. No, over there? Okay. Have you got a copy?
Not on me.
Oh, no. Good. I'm very glad to know that some people still remember him because it was so good. It was really superb. And it was really very clever because the guy who's actually writing it is a good old boy, more or less. But it's just so beautifully done. It's a masterclass in humour, and as is practically everything done by Mark Twain.
I'm going to whip in there with number 2 on my top 3, and that was our visit to Mathematica.
Oh yes.
Has anybody been to Mathematica or knows where Mathematica is?
Right. Of course you do. You do? We have a Kiwi here? Oh. But someone here knows where Mathematica is?
No, I don't think anybody.
No, okay. Right. Okay. New Zealand. Very small. South Island, full of orcs. North Island, full of farms. Pretty big farms, rather like you have here, except those are well watered because it's still a fairly damp climate. So, New Zealand very small. We go there after we did my stint in Australia, where I'm pleased to say, wait for this, we filled out the Opera House by doing a gig like this, a bit longer gig, and off to see Hobbiton because I knew that there is a if you're there, you can go and have a look round. That's the tour. But if you're a science fiction or fantasy writer, really not at all. And it's not far away from a place called Mathematica. We stopped, it was a long drive along empty roads, very much like going to Hump Tulips, which is what I did when we were here a little while ago. You don't know where Hump Tulips is even. I came all the way from England to go and see Hump Tulips. It's off the Puget Sound, and I went there just because I saw the name. It's like seeing Benson, Arizona. I went to go see there, and Paris, Texas, and I thought, Hump Tulips, Washington. Why go to Hump Tulips? Because they are there. And we went there, and it was very nice, and we had a bun, and we came back. And we weren't actually sawn up and chainsawed whatsoever. So where was I in the middle of that?
That was actually going to be number 1. So we'll have to skip back to number 2, which is Mathematica.
Mathematica, yeah. We get out of the car. Now, we work together, and so we kind of know each other very well. We got out of the car in Mathematica, which is the nearest place to where they got to Hobbiton. And let me tell you, it's not walking distance. It's not easy driving distance. And we looked at one another, and we went, boom, 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 boom. Mr. Sandman, bring me a drink. Yeah. There was a car crossing the road, and it had stopped while a little old lady very slowly walked across the road. It had, was it Jack's Pie Shop?
Yeah.
There was a milk bar, and I went there and got a milkshake so big that they must have brought in another can. And I needed a pair of scissors because I needed a pair of scissors. I don't have to explain. So they said, oh, you can go along to the scissors shop.
Bob's Scissors.
Bob's Scissors. And to actually put the tin lid on the whole thing, there was a barbershop, but with big windows and 2 barbers working, and I had one of the best shave and haircut I've ever had. And I thought, this is the place you go to raise your kids. This is the place where your kids hate you and become goths, Hell's Angels, and go away to far-off places, such as Australia. And then, when it's time to raise their kids, they come back, where the old lady is still very careful, crossing the road, and you can get pies at Bob's Pies.
It was the 1950s, wasn't it?
Everything about it was 1950s.
Yeah.
And later on in the tour, in New Zealand, I was asked if I would do a little bit of pick-up for the various booksellers around the place. You know, they'd give me a name of somewhere in New Zealand, and it would be whatever the name of that bookshop. And hi, all your fans in the such and such a bookshop. And I said, I want to do the one for Mathematica first, just so that they know that someone cares. I like it. I like small places. I was brought up in a small village, and in many respects, Lanka, for example, slightly comes from that village. The way the kind of elder ladies of the community sort of held it together. And I'm a champion of small places, and that's why I like places like Mathematica and Hunt Tulips.
Do you think it's time that we should actually talk about snuff? What do you think? I could kick off with a reading if you wanted. Is there time for a reading?
Do you want to do a little reading and then have some 3 or 4 questions?
Okay. Do you want to hear a little bit of snuff? I know you've got it.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to go with Crockett and Rust, if that's okay with you, Sue?
Yeah.
Okay.
There has to be a little foreword. It's a Vines book. Everyone knows that. And in fact, how many of you actually read the book? I know my...
Emily's hand is up.
I don't want to give you any spoilers in that case, but Sam Vines, out of his elements, meets his old rival, Lord Rust, and they don't get on. Right. I think that's good enough.
Okay. So Sam Vines has dropped into his local country pub where he learns about a fascinating local hobby and meets an old adversary. Vimes was becoming aware that the pub was filling up, mostly with sons of the soil, but also with people who, whether they were gentlemen or not, would expect to be